Hey guys, James MC Reviews here, and welcome to another catch-up review covering all the movies I saw these past 2 months. The Boogeyman is directed by Rob Savage, the man who brought us... God damn it. Even with that unfortunate pedigree, I was still curious about this movie from the trailers, and sitting here writing this review, I'm struggling to think of anything to say about it. It wasn't even bad from what I remember, it was just really generic and forgettable. In one ear, out the other. It has the same structure as just about every horror movie that come out in the last few years, with the only slight difference being the characters' names and the monster design. When I first saw it, it was a 3, but now it's more of a 2.5 out of 5. Transformers: Rise of the Beast comes to us from Creed 2 director Stephen Campbell Jr. It picks up a little after where Bumblebee left off and centers around the Autobots and the Maximals having to stop Unicron from destroying Earth. I'm so glad that Transformers is being helmed by people who actually like Transformers. Between this and Bumblebee, we are now 2 for 2 in terms of really good live-action Transformers movies. The characters are all likable, three-dimensional people, the humans weren't annoying, the action was very well framed, the effects and design of the Autobots and Maximals look great, the story is about what you'd expect, and the mid-credits scene has me intrigued to say the least. A few nitpicks here and there, but so far Hasbro is on a winning streak, and hopefully they keep this up. 3.5 out of 5. The Blackening is the new horror comedy by Tim Story about a group of friends who get together for a Juneteenth party that turns into a fight for survival. This was about what I expected it to be. Right from the tagline on the poster of "We can't all die first," you know that's basically going to be the extent of the jokes in this movie. There were still some funny and bizarre moments, but mainly I was just sitting there bored through most of it. 3 out of 5. Elemental is the newest Pixar movie that's basically Zootopia, but for elements. The meat of the story is about a fire girl named Ember trying to save her father's restaurant alongside a water guy named Wade. As they grow more of a connection, Ember starts to realize that maybe she has different goals and aspirations than her father. The trailers for this weren't really doing anything for me, and the early reviews definitely weren't helping either, so I went into this with low expectations. And while this isn't one of Pixar's best, it was absolutely adorable. They tackled the themes of generational trauma and gentrification pretty tactfully. The chemistry between the characters was great, the animation was of course amazing, and the music was really well done too. Nothing groundbreaking, but still better than I thought it would be. 4 out of 5. Asteroid City is the newest film by Wes Anderson. Be sure to check out my CBL double feature of Life Aquatic and Grand Budapest Hotel if you haven't already. I went into this movie really excited because I'm a fan of Wes Anderson and his style, and I came out of the movie kind of unsure how to feel. I asked on Letterboxd if it's possible to be entertained and underwhelmed by a movie at the same time, because that's kind of how I felt. I enjoyed the movie for sure. I thought it was entertaining and engaging. The signature style of humor and visuals that Wes Anderson is known for is still there front and center, and it looks outstanding. The acting across the board was all great, and it's a mix of returning actors like Adrian Brody, Jason Schwartzman, and Edward Norton, as well as newcomers like Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hanks, and Bryan Cranston. Where it did start to lose me is in the story. Not only does it get really bogged down with so many characters and plot elements that it's hard to find a singular thing to stay invested in, but the way it's framed makes it difficult to grasp what's happening, what you should care about, or if you should care at all. I wouldn't call this a bad movie, but it is definitely the weakest Wes Anderson movie I've walked out of. 3 out of 5. No Hard Feelings is the new rom-com starring Jennifer Lawrence as a woman who applies for a Craigslist ad to date a socially awkward teenager so that she can save her childhood house. Much like The Blackening, this was about what I expected it to be. There were a couple of chuckle-worthy moments, and the acting for the most part was fine, but I was mostly just sitting there waiting for it to be over. The only thing I was thinking about the entire time was how up in arms the internet would be if the roles were reversed. Either way you look at it, it's very creepy. 2.5 out of 5. Ruby Gilliam, Teenage Kraken is the anti-Little Mermaid movie from DreamWorks Animation. Coming off the heels of Puss in Boots, this was a major downgrade. It had some pretty animation and some chuckle-worthy moments, but it was mostly just a bland, forgettable kids movie. 3 out of 5. Everybody comes to us from director Julie Cohen and is a documentary about the lives of intersex people and the issues they've had to endure. It was definitely weird that this movie came out at the very end of Pride Month, but regardless, I found this movie very insightful and very heartbreaking. Hearing how an entire group of people has basically been wiped from the world's records and forced into this binary way of life against their will, how they've been sworn into secrecy about their body and their identity, and the infuriating double standard of people being against consensual gender reassignment surgery for trans kids, but completely okay with unauthorized surgeries on intersex kids at birth to try and hide a part of them. It's so horrifying to watch, and I'm glad movies like this exist to bring more attention to this kind of stuff, because I had only a slight comprehension of what intersex was before this. There are a few moments that feel kind of played up for the camera and cringy, and the optimistic ending does feel a bit undercut by the multiple anti-LGBTQ+ bills passed in Florida and other states, but those are very minor nitpicks. I'm still really glad I went to see this movie, and I feel like I learned a lot. If you can find a screening or find it on streaming, definitely give it a watch. 4.5 out of 5. Sound of Freedom has become the unlikely box office hero in a summer full of duds. It comes to us from Angel Studios and stars Jim Caviezel as a former US government agent that quits his job in order to devote his life to rescuing children from global sex traffickers. I have very conflicting feelings on this movie, but my overall consensus is that it's a good movie with an important message that has a lot of weird, problematic elements to it. The movie is a rough watch. It doesn't shy away from the harsh reality these kids are forced into, but it doesn't get super graphic either. For the minimal budget the film had, the movie looks really good, and they utilize their resources effectively. The acting from Caviezel, and especially the kids, is really damn good. There are some things that didn't really sit right with me though. The movie points the finger at international trafficking organizations, but it kinda lets the US off the hook. The white savior angle is not the least bit subtle, and for a movie that's going for such a serious tone and tackling something as traumatic as this, it does kinda take you out of the movie when the characters will start making quips or saying really corny trailer lines like God's children aren't for sale. Also, I'm kind of split on the whole pay it forward concept with this movie. On the one hand, yeah, I get marketing your movie to people who otherwise might not go check it out, but at the same time, it feels a little weird after having sat through this brutal and terrifying movie. Instead of providing resources to actually help put a stop to child sex trafficking, they just ask you to spread the word about the movie to other people. My hope is that Angel Studios is putting the now $124 million they've earned off this movie and putting it towards actually helping victims of sex trafficking. Otherwise, the whole movie would feel very disingenuous and kind of cheap. Nevertheless, this movie, while it has its problems, was a very powerful movie with a message more important than the sum of its parts. And that's enough for me to recommend it. 4 out of 5. Joyride is directed by Adele Lim and is about 4 Asian American friends traveling through Asia to find one of their birth mothers, and hijinks ensue. This was another one where the trailer basically tells you all you need to know about this movie. Save for a few bizarre moments, the humor wasn't grabbing me super hard. And while the film did surprisingly have a bit of heart to it, I wasn't invested enough to really care about what was going on. It's a fun watch, but nothing that's going to stick with me for the rest of this year. 3 out of 5. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is, well, tell 'em, Durden.
The new fucking Mission Impossible movie.
It follows Ethan Hunt and his team as they face off against their biggest threat yet, an invisible AI force known as the Entity. Up until this point, I've only seen the first MI movie for the bucket list video I did, but after having watched this one, I really want to check out the rest. This movie was awesome. The action and stunts look so impressive, made even more so when you know that so much of it is done practically. That scene in all the trailers of Tom Cruise motorcycling off the cliff, the only thing in that scene that's CG'd out is the ramp. That's nuts. The story is genuinely gripping as the Entity is constantly misdirecting our heroes to the point to where they can't even trust themselves, and the threat of a killer AI is becoming more and more real and terrifying every day. The actors across the board all do great. Cruise is kicking just as much ass as he did in that first movie and has great rapport off of newcomer Haley Atwell. The scene stealer for me has got to be Pom Klementoff. She isn't in it very much, but she is having a blast every time she's on screen. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie and I can't wait to see part 2. 4 out of 5. Nimona is the new Netflix, formerly Blue Sky Studios film based on the graphic novel of the same name. This was one of the unfortunate victims of the Disney-Fox merger and was pulled off the release schedule for reasons, but then Netflix picked it up and I watched it. And after Spider-Verse, this is one of the best animated movies of the year. The animation is absolutely beautiful. It's fast-paced, fluent, colorful, and just feels like a graphic novel brought to life. The mixing of the futuristic and medieval elements to create this world makes the backgrounds a joy to watch. The characters are all incredibly likable and layered, and the voice actors all do great. The humor is on point, not just in the blink and you miss it one-liners, but just in some of the weird expressions the characters make. The story, while it's definitely one you've seen before, has a lot of heart and impactful themes that really shows you quite plainly why Disney shit-canned this movie. I'm so glad this movie is out and people can watch it, and if you haven't seen it yet, I would highly recommend it. 4 out of 5. Theater Camp is a mockumentary directed by Molly Gordon and Nick Lieberman about a group of camp counselors putting on a show in order to save their childhood summer camp. It's a story you've seen before, but the humor comes from the mockumentary style and the quirky cast of characters. Each one has a role to play, each one has a compelling story arc, and each one is insanely memorable. And Ben Platt isn't absolutely atrocious in this. Whether you're a theater kid or not, I think you'll get a lot of laughs out of this movie. 4 out of 5. Haunted Mansion is directed by Justin Simien and is based off the beloved attraction at Walt Disney World. It's also the second time they've attempted a movie adaptation after the 2003 disaster starring Eddie Murphy. Be sure to check out my bucket list, okay, thanks. Now, as I said in that video, I don't have nostalgia for the ride, so all I'm really looking for is a good haunted house movie. Did I get what I wanted? For the most part, yeah. On every single aspect, this film completely outclasses the 2003 film, which I know isn't saying much, but still, this was a really fun, really atmospheric, genuinely creepy haunted house movie. It packs itself full of nods and references to the ride for fans, but it's got enough charm and intensity to keep casuals invested. The visuals are all really well done, from the gothic lighting to the designs of the ghosts. The whole thing is dripping with atmosphere. The film is scary in a way the 2003 film really wasn't, just like the film is funny in a way the 2003 film really isn't. The story and themes aren't anything to write home about, but they're executed with a lot of genuine heart. The cast all does great. Owen Wilson, Danny DeVito, and Lakeith Stanfield are some of the major standouts. Even Jared Leto as the Hatbox Ghost was legitimately kind of creepy. Aside from a few lulls in the pacing and some really egregious product placement that would make Man of Steel and Power Rangers say tone it the fuck down, this was a really fun watch. 3.5 out of 5. Talk to Me is the directorial debut of Danny and Michael Philippou, better known on YouTube as Raka Raka. Their videos are known for being slickly produced, over-the-top, chaotic action scenes, but this is their first foray into serious horror. And as directorial debuts go, this was pretty awesome. From the premise of a group of friends taking part in a challenge where they talk to this possessed hand statue, it seems like something that could easily devolve into something comical or dumb like Truth or Dare, but it actually plays around with the concept really well. I like that the friends aren't the least bit concerned that they're fucking with a haunted artifact and are just having a laugh, trying to scare each other and recording every bit of it. It plays like an anti-drug PSA as they start abusing the hand and getting some weird high off of it until one of them takes it too far and gets seriously hurt. There are some genuinely grisly scenes, and the film builds tension really well, constantly making you question along with our characters what's real and what the hand is making them see. The cast is pretty much all unknowns, and they all fucking killed it, particularly Sophie White as Mia. I hope she has a blossoming career after this movie, because she was awesome. It's got great suspense, great tension, really smooth cinematography, and a chilling premise. I'd highly recommend this movie, and I hope this is the start of a long, successful film career for these two. 4 out of 5. And that does it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you've been watching. Check out either of these two videos from the past couple months, and look forward to more videos coming soon.